What's going on, guys? Jordan here with HD Muscle. Second session back in Canada. We're doing shoulder and arms. Cody, Killian, Hamilton. So planning to start with some rear delts. Move in some overhead work with high incline press with dumbbells. Maybe some like low cable lateral raises. Work some like mid-trap shrugs, and then maybe 1 or 2 sets of triceps at the end. Hopefully walk through a bit around our thought process with exercise selection, execution. We're gonna do some things that are a little bit different, just minor tweaks. Hopefully give some reason and logic as to why we set up the way we do, the order of the exercises and how we execute them. So hope you guys enjoy it. Biggest issue with rear delt training is, frankly, it comes down to the machine, right? Like a lot of people sit down and see the dual function of the machine as it works as a pec fly and a rear delt fly, and they think, well, pec must be the same to the delt, right? So the pec must be the anterior analog to the rear delt, which it's not. Right? Pec attaches the sternum and the midline of the front of our body, but the rear delt only attaches to the spine of the scapula. So like the shoulder blade, if you're trying to isolate, and to what degree that's beneficial to is up for debate, but if you're trying to isolate the rear delt, the shoulder blade should move only a minimal amount, or if at all. So you really, if you think of this full arc of movement, you're probably going to want to cut a third of that range of motion out, and that'll minimize the amount of scap, or the scap contributes to that full arc. Right, so when you go through, you can either pick full retraction or pick full protraction, and then just move the arm on the fixed shoulder blade. Again, to what degree you want to do that, it's kind of up to you, or up for debate. But I think that's the biggest issue with the rear delt fly, is that people think it's analogous to a pec fly. For that to be the case, the pec anatomy would have to be analogous to the rear delt anatomy. It's not. Pec inserts onto the midline of the front of the body. The rear delt doesn't insert the midline on the back of the body, just inserts on the scapula. So if you want to isolate the rear delt, use the least amount of weight possible and just go after that one muscle. Once the scap starts to move, the rear delt doesn't move the scap. Right? So you're kind of taking away from the potential of the rear delt, or applying extra load into like the rhomboids and middle trap. So yeah, that'd be the biggest thing, is if you want to isolate the rear delt, you can't have the shoulder blade move. That's like pure overhead, which is like, I don't know. For me, like, when I go in the overhead, I'm trying to like not arch my lower back as much.
Because then you're hitting pec?
Not necessarily. I can still kind of hit the delt. It's more so like, I feel like I can't be as strong because like the way you breathe. Like, you should be able to like breathe into your lower thoracic spine. It creates like this big stable base in your rib cage and diaphragm to be able to press heavy on top of. But just like a little bit, like an adjustable bench that angles slightly down, so it's not full 90 degrees.
Last week, so I'm gonna go 120 today.
You didn't even tell me, man.
What?
I blew my load.
Yeah, but I just remembered. I was like, shit, I did 115 last week, so I gotta.
Wow. All right.
What?
Hey,
Against the pro code.
is anyone looking for a new training partner? Let me know.
But this is what we do. Tell them. This is bodybuilding. This is how you grow.
I'm sick of powerlifting.
What's that?
I said there's more science behind that statement than anything Jordan's ever said. This is how you grow.
Powerlifting at least has some integrity, man. Jesus. Go on, then. You better make it worth it. I like to show cable, like setting the cable higher,
But why?
so you can actually utilize more of the stretch position. Like we're weak now, relatively speaking. So to try and double down on potentially strong positions in mid ranges, like with a dumbbell kind of, or a cable from the bottom, it's like, is anything really going to pale, or is anything really going to compare stimulus wise to holding like 120-pound dumbbells in each hand over your head on your delt? Probably not. Right? So it's like, how do we do more with less weight? We'll put the muscle in a weak position. So if we set the cable here, we're going to spend more time under resistance, the horizontal part of the abduction arc. It's like, look, we spent a lot of time up here already.
Yeah.
So, but when people don't like adjust for the position of the cables, they just think top and bottom. It's like, well, my hand is here, Laura's hand's going to be lower, and we can just adjust so we get the most amount of resistance in the weakened part of the initial part of the arc. Something we just have a challenge to help keep like some of the resistance down and drive the stimulus high.
Did you get that?
Handles are neutral. I feel like both of those grips are really going to resemble where I pressed at. So this is just going to this is going to end up as like a short lever front raise, right? Like, so I'll probably stick here just because they're neutral. But I can see the conversation in your head, right? Because you're thinking late in the game, internal, external stability, standing versus seated probably better. But I think the redundancy in handle selection probably outweighs, because it's still like, it's on a track.
It's the same as landmine.
Yeah, and probably more stable as it has like only one element, right? There's only one element of really, like, it doesn't laterally deviate. Sorry, these are the conversations that we just have. So like the thought process being, right, like we dumbbell pressed and we kind of had like a semi-pronated grip when we pressed, so our shoulders were going to be like a little bit more internally rotated. So if we're thinking now later in the workout, so we don't really want to do the same muscle twice. So in this position, when we have like a more neutral grip on the standing Viking, it's like kind of late in the session to be doing a press, at least a free weight one, but this is on a track in the machine. But the second we are bringing the more neutral grip handle, we have to externally rotate the shoulder more, and we're going to isolate more of the anterior delt, right? So rather than being out here and maybe recruiting different fibers of the pec, this is really just going to turn into a short lever front raise, right? Think about doing a front raise like this. Right now we're just shortening that lever so it resembles something like a press. So it's kind of the thought process that we just kind of went through with like what it is we're going to do as far as like exercise selection at this stage in the game, like what muscles have we trained, what positions of the shoulder, what modalities have we used versus machine versus cable versus free weight. And then you kind of put all those factors together and you go, okay, what's left, right? What's going to be the least redundant? What muscle haven't we targeted? What machine or modality haven't we used? And this is kind of how we came up with this. So here goes.
A little different. So usually if I do shrugs, I'll do a standing shrug. This is a new Atlantis machine we have here at Pure Muscle Fitness. So usually it's just a standard shrug machine. Jordan's got a little contraption here, it's a little different.
Yeah, so I mean, the whole point of lifting weights, as I see it, is like you just want to put tension across fibers, right? Now the bulk of like, I'm gonna bore you for a second. So the bulk of like the upper trap muscle runs horizontal, right? Very few fibers actually run straight up and down. So if we start applying loads that pull straight down to the ground, like say we're just gonna grab the handles like this, it's gonna pull down. Well, muscles that are preferentially gonna be targeted are muscles that pull straight up first, right? Not to say we're not gonna use these, but with this angle, what we're gonna try and do is the bulk of the upper trap that most guys and girls are trying to develop is actually more like the horizontal or oblique fibers of the upper trap, not so much the vertical fibers of the upper trap that run into like the suboccipital region of the cervical spine. So in order to prioritize this, we're gonna put this arm in a moment of flexion that line of pull is gonna come right through more of the bulk of the upper trap that we're trying to challenge. So we're kind of playing around with this incline, this adjustable bench and this, and bring it up just to see if we can get more direct recruitment across those oblique fibers of the upper trap. All right, guys. So that was the session. If you guys have any comments on any of the movements, or want them to be described in more detail, let us know in the comments below. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We're back now at Pure Muscle, so we'll be doing more of these a little bit more routinely now.